Hello all, welcome back to New Chapters. My name is Sarah, and if this is your first time joining me, I just want to say thank you for stopping by for this chapter of my life. I'm a hobby hopper, so if this isn't the content you usually watch me for, I hope you enjoy this hobby as well and will stick around for today's video. Today we're going to be doing another WIP&Chat. WIP, W-I-P, just stands for work in progress. You're welcome to grab your own projects and work alongside me, or if you want to treat this just as a podcast, feel free to just listen to me chat. Today I'm going to be continuing my work on my Enablers Outpost kit. This kit from them is Winter Girl. This particular kit has been discontinued, but I will link just to their website down below. In terms of tools that I'm using, I have my Elizabeth Ward tray kitted up over here on the side of my canvas, so it's off camera frame, you won't be able to see it. But I do have my Diamond Art Club pen. It has the regular brass tip that comes standard on the one side, and on the other side I have the Diamond Art Club steel metal single placer. And then I recently changed out, I had washi tape kind of securing this into place, but I now have, you might be able to see it there just a little bit. There you go. There's a little clear like hair tie that I decided to wrap around the base of the tip here, and then there's a hole in the bottom, so I was able to like kind of take the excess and kind of shove it up in there so I could get it secured. So far it seems to be working pretty well. I've only used it for, I don't know, an hour or two so far in terms of time, but so far it seems to be working pretty well, keeping everything kind of stable and in place. And it's something that, you know, as long as it doesn't break, I can reuse it versus having to kind of re-washi every now and then. If I didn't drop them just now, if I need them, I have a set of tweezers from Dreamer Designs. These are just the tweezers that come standard in their toolkit. If I need it as well, I also have from this Enablers Outpost kit, I have a purple boat or tray that just came standard with the Enablers Outpost kit. If I need it for the light colors in this kit, I will go ahead and pull that out. Sometimes it's hard to see them on my regular tray, which is this one. This is my Firefly Diamond Art tray here. Let's see if I can get those words a little less crooked for you. And maybe a little bit in focus. There we go, a little bit better. Hard to see on this white right now today. It's kind of cloudy out right now, but this is their element tray. So it has 3 different interchangeable bases, as well as a little trash tray, which I have filled up with trash from a different kit, so I won't show that to you right now, but it has the multiple grid line sections, so if you like to multi-place, oh gosh, my words today. It breaks down the different like sizes, so you can grab exactly however many diamonds you need. They also have the single placing grid, so you just get 1 diamond at a time, and then they have the traditional just lines throughout the whole tray, which is what I'm going to be using today. All right, I believe that's it for kind of tools and things. So while I'm getting my next section prepped and ready to go, I'm just going to check in with you guys. How are you guys doing? How are things in life? Anything good, bad, ugly, otherwise? Anything that you're willing to share about and want some support for, leave it down in the comments below. Support can be good or bad. Don't think you have to leave a negative thing in the comments in order to receive support. I will support you in your positive endeavors as well, just as I hope you will support me in mine. I can actually turn this so that it's not hanging off in my lap quite so much today. All right. But yeah, let me know what's going on in your life. I'd love to know about it. Obviously, you guys get a little catch up on what's going on in my life on a pretty regular basis. So I'd love to hear about what's going on in your guys' lives as well. Speaking of things going on in people's lives, so for you guys, this will be, I don't know, I think like my 3rd video since I kind of took a little impromptu mental health break from doing WIP&Chats and posting on YouTube and all of that kind of stuff. But that was what I wanted to talk about today. That's kind of my main focus, is just kind of chatting about what happened. So I I don't know that it's necessarily a negative thing, so to speak. Let me get myself a letter or symbol here so that I am actually working on this while I'm talking to you and not just talking to you. Um, so I ended up having a week or a week and a half or so after I applied to my former probation job that I ended up going into a pretty significant like period of anxiety and like hyper focus, which like is whatever, like it's not always a bad thing necessarily, but it really was not great a couple of weeks ago when I ended up having to take my break from YouTube briefly. um I just was unable to, like, I got hyper focused on the possibility of getting that job back and like kind of brainstorming all sorts of ideas of like people I wanted to talk to get input from, and like different, I don't know, different ways that I could approach that job in a way that in my opinion would be better than what I was doing before and would hopefully be better for, you know, the community at large and my clients, and would be something that my supervisors from that position would support. um, but basically, I just got incredibly hyper fixated on that situation for, again, like a week, week and a half. And that meant that I was incredibly full of energy, at least mental energy. But it was all going to one place. Like, there was no way for me to move away from that and circle back to any other thoughts or any other tasks or anything. Like, it was a lot of me just, I don't know, spiraling a little bit, for lack of a better term. It's probably the best way to describe it. But then, after I finally broke out of the hyper focus, which I'll talk about how that happened in a minute, um, after I finally broke out of the hyper focus, I was exhausted. Like, I had zero, less than zero energy, um, because I had been so hyper focused and so fixated, and like my wheels were spinning mentally, that like I just had nothing left in me by the time that I finally broke out of that cycle. Um, so yeah, that was why I ended up being behind on YouTube, because I did not have the ability to focus on anything. Um, Again, it's not, I mean, it's not great that it like derailed me from being able to do day to day life things, but it wasn't necessarily like a negative. It was a positive side of, I don't know, anxiety, ADHD, whatever it is that I have that I've never actually been diagnosed with, because I haven't ever really talked to anyone in a medical profession, or a medical sense about this kind of stuff, besides my brief attempts at therapy. Um, but yeah, so it was, I mean, it wasn't like negative as in like I was sad and depressed and like not in a good spot that way. It wasn't even like my anxiety was putting me necessarily in a bad spot. It just gave me no motivation, and no ability to like transfer my focus to anything else that I needed to do. But again, it drained me after I finally broke that hyper focus state. So I ended up sleeping a lot, like the second half of that week and a half. Once it finally broke, I'm not even kidding. I slept for like 14 hours one day, because now that I don't have a job, didn't have commitments, my body was exhausted from all of that energy that I had exuded, just spinning my wheels out, and not having anything really to show for it except ideas, right? Um, so yeah, I was not doing great that week. Well, those 2 weeks, in terms of being able to create content and edit things and upload things. Like, it was just too much for me to be able to actually successfully function as a human being, to be completely honest with you. Um, but yeah, so I apologize for my unintentional and unplanned absence a couple of weeks back for you guys now, but that's what was happening and going on. That is something that I've definitely told myself following this whole kind of event, that, once I do get a job again, hopefully eventually in the near future, once I get back on insurance, I do need to schedule some appointments with doctors and or therapists or whoever I need to schedule with to talk to them about kind of all of the anxiety and, again, what I think is probably some ADHD mixed in with that, um, to maybe see if I can solve that whole, I don't know, I guess not solve, but maybe manage those symptoms a little bit better when they do come up. I don't feel like I deal with it all of the time, but obviously it's not great when I'm like unable to function or do anything else besides sit there and fixate on something that's not even happening currently, that might not even be relevant. Um, but ironically, the way that I kind of broke out of that hyper focus was I got an update on my um, application at my former employer. And really, what happened was my friend texted me and asked if I had heard anything, which, to be fair, I'll give some credit to her too. She also helped break me out of my hyper focus a little bit because I was able to talk to her and continue to brainstorm things with her and kind of, I mean, on the one hand, she helped me stay in hyper focus, but on the other hand, talking about it all out loud helps me kind of overcome anything that I'm stuck on. So was able to chat with her, but she had asked me if I had heard anything about the job on Monday. And I said, no, still haven't heard anything. And she was asking me, like, which agency in particular I was applying to positions with, because she was like, oh, I have a friend that works in this agency. And I was like, oh, it's not that one. It's like the other level of that same sort of job. I was like, but it's by a completely different agency, at least in the county that I applied to. And so she was texting me back and forth about it, and I didn't know. She just was like, what job did you apply to? And I didn't know why she was asking at first. So I was like, oh, it's this one. I was like, but they removed the job posting the day that it closed, so you aren't going to be able to see it, because I thought maybe she was just going to look it up or something. And so because I had said that, I was like, I should double check that information to make sure that she can't see it, and see if there's an update on my what is it called, like my profile, my portfolio, whatever they have on the website. And so I went to look that up, and then I discovered that they had reopened the job posting, and it was the same opening date, but it no longer had a closing date. It now just said open until filled. And I was like, that doesn't really bode well, that language, for me having an opportunity to interview at this job again. I was like, I would have thought that if they'd found candidates that they were interested in, they would have gone ahead and just interviewed people from that first 2 week period versus opening it back up and saying like open until filled. So I kind of panicked a little bit, and I told my friend I was panicking a tiny bit, and she's like, yeah, that seems really weird. So I was like, okay. I mean, I know it's a little bit cheating because obviously I know people there, um, that, some other person applying wouldn't be able to contact and reach out to people about. But I tried calling my old supervisor there, and he did not answer his desk phone. And so I was like, I'll just wait and I'll call back later. And at some point I was finally like, you know what, he's hardly ever at his office. It's probably easier for me to just email him than try to catch him and phone tag at his office desk phone. And so I emailed him and was like, hey, I just was curious if, the position reopening means that you guys aren't going to move forward with applications that you received before the closing date originally, or what. And he was like, hey, thanks for reaching out. No, we actually had asked HR not to put a closing date on this position to begin with, but they did. So once it closed, we had to ask them to reopen it. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, we're going to be scheduling interviews for May 5th. And I was like, okay, cool. And I was like, thanks for the information. I just wanted to double check. And he was like, not a problem. Um, and that was kind of where he left it, at least in terms of the email exchange. And then, I don't know, an hour later, I got a phone call from the office like, admin who schedules interviews, and she called me and was like, "Hey, we'd like to schedule you for your interview on May 7th." And I was like, "Perfect." So I have an interview officially with my former employer. So hopefully I get good remarks on my interview, I guess, and I hope that they're willing to consider hiring me back. Um, I did, I believe I told you guys, apply to a very similar job with a different agency, like a different county, same position, different county. Um, haven't heard, well, that's not true. I did hear back from them, sort of. Haven't heard anything specifically about the like interviewing or anything, but they sent out an email that said, "Hey, we accidentally listed the wrong pay for this position." So the pay that was listed originally was a technical error. They said that was like $2 an hour more than what they're actually willing to pay people for it. So they were like, if you don't want this, or if you don't want to apply to this position anymore, if you want to withdraw, please let us know. But if you'd like us to like move your application to the new listing that we're posting, please let us know that as well. So I did let them know I was still interested. At this point, I'm trying not to, put all of my eggs in one basket again, because that's been not great for me the last couple of times I've tried doing that. Um, so kind of minor update there. Hopefully, we'll hear something from them shortly. They actually, that job position posting closes the same week that my interview is scheduled with my former employer. Um, so we'll see how it all pans out and who ends up having the better offer if they both offer me things. And I mean, and that's not just pay and benefits, but like work environment and flexibility of hours and all that kind of stuff that I'm looking into and hoping to obtain. So we'll see how it all goes. But those are kind of some positive, hopefully, updates on the job front. But yeah, getting that interview scheduled is what sort of broke me out of that hyper focus. Like actually having the job interview helped me like refocus some of that energy away. I don't really know why that was, but I was able to stop frantically, paranoidly, um, like thinking nonstop about that position and what I would do differently and how I could be better and whatever. Like I've still been thinking about it a little bit. Unfortunately, like the day that I got that call and got my interview scheduled, I was not feeling super great by the end of the day. So like again, not having a job, I kind of just been letting my body sleep whenever it wants to sleep. So for me, I'm such a night owl. Like recently, I've been not going to bed until like 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning most days. Um, and so the night that I got, or the day I guess that I got the interview scheduled, I was not feeling super great. So I actually was like, I'm just going to go to bed at like 12:30, which again would be super early for what I have been going to bed at. And so I was like, okay, cool, laid down in bed, did the like night routine stuff that I needed to get done, was ready. Like I was in bed by like 11:30, working on my night routine, and then 12:30 I was ready to go to sleep. So I turn off all the lights, get settled down into bed, and then all of a sudden my brain starts thinking about all of this stuff that I could be doing to make myself a better probation officer. And then thinking about how do I convince them to let me have an untraditional work schedule and like how do I persuade them, again, things that I've already been thinking about nonstop for like 2 weeks was all happening again as I'm trying to go to sleep that night. And normally I don't have difficulty like going to sleep or falling asleep or anything like that. And really, it's probably just because even though I wasn't feeling good, my body's like, we're not going to sleep for 4 more hours. Like, what are you trying to do here? So I was up till 4:30, just laying in bed with my eyes closed, thinking about how to be better at my job that I don't currently have. So yeah, it's been a rough couple of weeks with, again, trying not to be hyper focused and hyper fixated on things, and yet at the same time, just being hyper focused and hyper fixated on things. So it was not great. But I'm happy I have all these ideas. Like, I guess that's a positive for all of this. Um, at least in my head, I don't know. Hopefully, having all these ideas makes me a better candidate and not a worse candidate. Um, but yeah, so that all happened, and then on top of like not getting stuff done with YouTube and filming and all of that, I already struggle with like keeping up with like I don't know, day-to-day maintenance of things like dishes and laundry and general cleaning tasks. Like I keep things relatively tidy most of the time, but the actual like cleaning of everything I tend to be horrible at. Um, or I wait, like I procrastinate on it, and then I wait until it's a mountain of stuff, and then I do all of it, and it takes me forever. And I'm always like, I should do this in small increments instead of all at once. And then every time I follow through with that for like one day, and then it goes back to being a mess and a pile that I eventually take care of once it gets big enough, which is probably part of the reason I still haven't finished unpacking, even though we moved in over 6 months ago now. Um, and I like want to unpack things. But that also was happening like threefold with everything that was going on with my like hyper focus and hyper fixation on this potential job and like how I could be better. So since I was in such a state of hyper focus, like everything fell to the wayside. So once I finally broke out of that, even before I could sit down and like film and do YouTube stuff, like I had to catch up on some just, again, things like dishes and laundry and cleaning tasks and things that needed to get done in that regard. So was proud of myself for kind of catching back up on that. But that was something that I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about is just like how you guys get through that stuff, right? Like again, this might go back to the I probably should make doctor's appointments to talk to people about like potentially getting diagnoses for things that I'm sure I have in some form or fashion. I mean, I can't even say for sure that I know exactly what it is that I have, but I'm sure there's some things that are keeping me from being able to do the normal day to day tasks that, like, in theory, I quote unquote should be able to do just fine. But, like, how do you guys handle keeping on top of your day to day stuff? Like, doing things like dishes and laundry and, like, chores and heck, even sometimes like the daily personal hygiene maintenance like can be a thing that I'll drop off because I'm like, it's not that important. Or it's like the thought process becomes like, why am I doing these things when like tomorrow it's just all gonna get dirty again? Or like I'm gonna sweat again tomorrow, might as well wait till tomorrow to take my shower. Like, I don't know. Again, I know there's certainly some mental health things that go into that. And there's lots of possibilities. So I'm going to have to talk to a professional to find out what my specific variety might be. But I'm just curious, like, what do you guys do if it's not something like there are some people out there, like, again, the friend I've been chatting with off and on for the last couple of months about work stuff and relationship stuff and all of that, like she's one of those people who like she loves to clean, like that's her hobby. When she gets home she cleans, and like she's one of those people that like can't go to sleep if there's dirty dishes in her sink. Like she literally cannot, um at least from her perspective, right? And like truthfully she also probably has some mental health and some different varieties that probably helps maintain that standard, even though perhaps that's not ideal either necessarily to be so much like so rigid about it. But like I don't get her because she just is like, I just go home and I clean. Like what do you mean you don't go home and clean and like spend your time doing dishes, or like it sits there for a week and it piles up before you finally do it? So for those of you who understand my side of this struggle and are like, oh yeah, I totally get it, like doing daily maintenance chores and tasks are very difficult for me, or like I have to put an effort, like it's not just something that seems obvious and like, yep, I should be doing this and that's what I'm going to be doing, and it's not a fight with myself to do these things. I mean, heck, the biggest thing about like in this category isn't even about cleaning or like showering and hygiene and stuff like that. My biggest one is like food. Like, I recognize that food is important, that you need to eat in order to have energy and like feel better and be motivated and like whatever. But like the idea and the thought of like making food for even just myself every single day, multiple times a day, I'm like, I'm at home all day and I'm like, where do people have the time and energy to cook for themselves breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day? And like I know like meal planning and prepping and stuff like that can help alleviate some of the time element, but like there are days where I'm like the thought of having to make myself even like a frozen pizza seems so daunting that I'm like, I'm just not gonna eat today. Or I'm not gonna eat right now. I'll eat later when I'm like feeling more up for it. So for any of those of you who this doesn't sound ridiculous and crazy, and you're like, oh yeah, me too. I've totally been there. How do you motivate yourself to do these things? How do you find the motivation and energy to feel like it's worth your time to do the things that like rationally I know I should be doing and that they should be easy to do, but that they're not. And that's all I can say. That's how I can explain it. I have no other way of describing why they're not happening and getting done. But yeah, I'd love your guys' thoughts about that because like a whole week of me just completely neglecting all of the things myself, my chores, my everything to be in a state of hyper focus. Like I don't know. Clearly that's not the way that things quote unquote should be. So if you guys have advice, I would love to have some of your knowledge. Besides the advice of like Sarah, go see a doctor and like get yourself diagnosed with whatever things it is that you've got so that you can get treatment for those things. That is a great first step that I will eventually take once I am insured again, and it's not going to cost me the entirety of my life savings to go to a doctor. Um, but yeah, if you guys can assist at all, that would be super appreciated. Um, but yeah, it's just, again, and then I start thinking about like, I can't even take care of myself. It's like, I, at one point I thought my whole purpose in life was going to be a mom and to be a parent, but like at this point in my life, I can't take care of myself. I don't even want to take care of a pet, let alone be responsible for another human being. Um, I'm like, that just seems absolutely ridiculous and impossible and far fetched. And like, how do people do that? Not just financially, but like mentally. And the financial side of it right now is nearly impossible as well. So like there's a lot of reasons in my opinion currently to not have kids, but one of them is most certainly these struggles with just being able to you know do day-to-day tasks and feel like I'm able to keep on top of things when I have nothing else pressing that needs to get done, no pressure to keep another person alive. Though to be fair, maybe that's the missing ingredient, right? Maybe when you become a parent, you're like, oh crap, I actually have to keep this kid alive. I've got to be on top of everything because like I don't have another choice at this point in time. But yeah, that's been my thoughts and my ramblings and my everything this last week or so, or last 2 weeks, I guess. So yeah, hopefully I'm able to be back and be a little less hyper focused on things unrelated to YouTube at least, um, and stay on top of things. I would like to still be able to move my WIP&Chats to Monday if I could, but so far Wednesdays have still just seemed to work better for me. Um, I've been finding that I tend to procrastinate on the weekends while my partner is home. And so giving myself Monday and Tuesday while he's not home to make sure I have things filmed if I still need to film something, and then have the time to actually like edit and upload and add subtitles and all of that before the video goes live. Wednesdays have just still been the best day currently, but ideally I would still like to move to a Monday WIP&Chat schedule if I could. But as I said, right now Wednesdays seem to be the better day. Now, granted, this video might be going up on a Monday. If I'm lucky, it's going up on a Monday, but it'll still be a few weeks from the time I'm filming until this goes up. So I won't know the answer to that question for a few more weeks myself. So we'll both be waiting on pins and needles to see if I actually manage to change things to a Monday upload schedule again, or if I'm gonna continue to be on this Wednesday upload schedule, at least for the WIP&Chats. As I mentioned previously, I'm also still hoping to do some additional content in addition to diamond painting stuff, or at least in addition to WIP&Chats, but I haven't actually been getting around to doing that either. So things on my hope to do in the near future list, but I would not hold your breath on me getting it completed and started and all of those things anytime soon. As much as I'd like to do them, the WIP&Chat seems to be the only thing that for the most part I'm able to maintain the consistency on. And even that apparently falls to the wayside if things are not going well, unfortunately. So I appreciate you all for still sticking around despite my little bit of a lack of schedule and kind of still getting my feet under me for how I want to operate this YouTube channel and all of that. But I appreciate you all sticking around anyway. But I'm looking over my notes here and making sure I didn't miss anything. Nope, it looks like I got everything. So, I guess that's going to be it for today. I felt like I had a lot to talk about. I did have a lot to talk about, but I kind of feel like I breezed through it. I know the last WIP&Chat that I actually filmed, I felt like I was a little blah, that I didn't really have a lot of energy or anything going into it. But I was committed to filming, so I did, but probably shouldn't have. Um, but yeah, I think that's all I have for you guys today. As always, thank you for watching today's video. Um, I would like if you have made it to the end of this video, and I realize now that I'm pretty sure the last WIP&Chat that I filmed, I think I forgot to tell you guys. I had an emoji and everything picked out from my last WIP&Chat, but I'm pretty sure that I forgot to film a chunk that said to, leave a specific emoji in the comments if you watched all the way to the end. So I guess go back to last week's video if you watched it all the way to the end and you watched this video all the way to the end and add like something related to TV. I don't know. Maybe I'll try to edit something into that video before I get it uploaded today so that it'll say something in the video at the end about like forgot to say it, but I'm remembering in editing that I would like you guys to leave me an emoji related to TV. Oh well. If I forget, go back onto the last video and watch it to the end and then leave me an emoji related to TV on my last WIP&Chat. But on this video, if you happen to make it all the way to the end and you've listened to all of my ramblings, first off, again, I greatly appreciate you. Second off, if you've made it to the end, if you'll leave an emoji of something related to sleep. I don't know what all they have on the emoji icons page, but I know they have like the sleeping face. I don't know if they have like a pillow or pajamas or something like that. Um, Leave something related to sleep due to my exhaustion from my hyper focus state, and sleeping for like 14 hours one night, and also not sleeping like at all the other night when I was up till 4:30 in the morning, just laying in bed. Again, not that I haven't been awake till 4:30 in the morning most nights, but most nights I'm not laying awake in bed for 4 hours trying to go to sleep actively. Um, but yeah, if you watched it all the way to the end of the video and you want to leave an emoji related to sleep, I would greatly appreciate it. But otherwise, as I said, thank you for watching today's video. If you're looking for more content related to this chapter of my life, please check out my diamond painting playlist. I'm going to link it in the cards. Sometimes it doesn't seem to pop up for some reason. So if it doesn't pop up in the cards, it'll be in the description box or around the description box, depending on where you're watching it. But you can find that diamond painting playlist linked. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content about this chapter and others, and to continue to listen to me ramble, apparently. Please leave any comments or questions you have down below. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.